Can you talk a bit about like what it is to be a man today and how he can show up as being that leader to then transferring into having a better sex life?
Good point. Yeah, I mean, it's something that guys aren't taught. At least when I was in Australia, when I grew up in Australia, we weren't really taught. We've been brought up in like a postmodern egalitarian kind of society, which perpetuates the myth of like blank slate equalism. If anyone's familiar with that term. So the idea that everyone is like exactly the same, and especially the idea that men and women are exactly the same. And we fundamentally are not. Men and women are very, very different in what we respond to, what we enjoy, in our strengths and our weaknesses, And so I think the first thing men need to do is understand that, okay, you've kind of been brought up in a society that's telling you a lie, and that is the lie that men and women are exactly the same in every way, shape, or form. And the second thing you have to understand is that you have the burden of responsibility as a man. So you have the job of taking charge and being responsible. That is your role as a guy. Like you might not like it, but suck it up and deal with it, because that's your role in life. Okay, you have the burden of performance. So that means, okay, if you have the burden of performance, fundamentally you have the ability to change things too, which is good and empowering. But once you accept your role, well, then it's okay, cool. I'm in charge of whatever result, whatever outcome I want in my relationship. It has to come from me to start with. Cool. So let's start implementing some things to try and actually get this relationship back on track, to get our sex life back on track, rather than sitting around feeling. I mean, what's the opposite of that? Sitting around feeling powerless and magically waiting for his partner to do something, or magically waiting for his wife or his girlfriend to like spark it up again in the bedroom or something. Like, it's just, one is proactive and one is very not proactive. It's very reactive. And I think it's always, there's no downside to being proactive in your life and taking control like that. So I think that's a fundamental like mentality shift guys need to adopt.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you did touch on like society, and I think there's so many nuances to it. Like it's kind of hard to kind of paint it in a very simple way. But I think where society has changed is obviously women are now in the workforce, and predominantly women are just making just as much, if not more, than men. And then they're in a very like unfortunately, it is what it is. Like when a woman goes and works in the workforce, it's quite a masculine environment because the woman is leading. She is taking charge. She is taking action, which is quite masculine. She comes back home and perhaps, and this is where women also need to step up and look at their role in it as well, because she needs to shift back into the feminine role. And I think, so you've got two people in a relationship where I think both are, perhaps the woman is maybe even being more masculine than the man. So how does the man, like he's got a corporate woman who's working, or quite a masculine energy woman. She's coming back home and all he wants to do is lead her and get her in her feminine. Is that something that he can do, or does she have to kind of initiate that as well?
Well, I think it has to come from him, because if it doesn't come from him, she won't respect it.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, right? But your diagnosis is 100% on. It's 100% correct there. You've got, I mean, as an example, take a wild guess at who all of my like clients were as a high class male companion. There were all these kinds of women you just described. All these women who are working like, multiple six-figure jobs, like white collar, white collar, like corporate women, right? Who are in positions of responsibility and leadership all day. It's a very fundamentally a masculine role, not a feminine one. It's a masculine role. And what are they craving? Well, they're craving a man to take that responsibility and that burden away from them so they can get into their feminine. It's exactly what all the clients that I had were exactly the same like that. They just wanted to, and sometimes all it would be as simple as, oh, telling her what to wear. Meet me at this restaurant at this time. Wear this. I'll order your food and drinks for you. Something as subtle as simple as that was enough to get her into her feminine again and get her out of that masculine kind of role of being responsible, being in charge. So the first step a guy has to do is like how to get her out of that situation, how to get her out of that masculine into her feminine. Start making decisions. Make decisions for her. Take that burden away from her. Stop asking her, where do you want to eat, baby? What do you want to do? What do you want to do this evening? Just cut that shit out. Just start making the fucking decisions. Sorry to swear. But
I swore before. It's fine.
That is how he's going to get her to start getting back into her feminine. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's going to be easy, especially if she's working like in a position of leadership every day. There's actually a problem. Like it's gonna cause problems in a relationship, and we know it causes problems in relationships because we see that happen all the time in society now. With, like you said, where women are out earning men. If women are out earning men, well, lo and behold, what happens a lot of the time is that she ends up like leaving that guy and trying to find a guy who's earning more than her. It's a really consistent pattern. So. What are the practical solutions guys have? Well, one, you could try to get a job that out earns her, and then maybe that dynamic will start to fix itself a little bit. Or a more practical answer, a more immediate practical answer, is to start just taking all the burden of responsibility away from her the moment she walks in the door, to reinforce her getting back into her feminine. You know, and I don't mean, by the way, that doesn't mean like pampering her and things the moment she walks in the door, you know, like running her a hot bath and with Epsom salts and rose petals and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Those kind of like romantic partner like gestures. That's not what I'm referencing. I'm talking about like the thing I said before. Like, okay, we're gonna go here. You're gonna wear that dress. I'm ordering your food. I've got it. Relax. I'm taking charge. I'm in control. You don't have to worry about a thing. Taking responsibility and burden away from her, help her switch back into her feminine. And then obviously that's outside the context of the bedroom. Inside the context of the bedroom, what I think a lot of guys will probably notice is that women who are in these, you know, high-powered white-collar jobs, corporate jobs, they are craving real masculine polarity in the bedroom. They're craving what you might call like dominant sex in the bedroom, because it's like a reset button. It gets them back into their natural femininity. If her partner can learn to be more, let's say, physically so any word I say here is probably going to get misinterpreted, but let's just say physically controlling, physically dominant over her in the bedroom, obviously in a consensual way. Obviously, we're not idiots here, but if he can start to like lay down the law a bit like that in the bedroom, well, now she's able to again relax, let go. The responsibility is on him, and she can get naturally back into a more feminine submissive dynamic. And lo and behold, what you'll find is that when that dynamic corrects itself in the bedroom, it corrects itself outside the bedroom a lot. Very, very common. I get testimonials from guys all the time saying things like, "Oh, you know, I started being more of a dominant lover in the bedroom, and then lo and behold, like she's not nagging me to take the trash out anymore. She's cooking and cleaning for me again after she gets home from work. Like all these sort of like typical like housewifely duties and housewifely like not even like responsibilities, but just like mannerisms that, you know, would have happened in a typical relationship, let's say like 100 years ago. They start to manifest again without any prompts, without any like discussion about it. Just when the dynamic in the bedroom is correct again, when he's masculine and she's feminine, magically, surprise, surprise, this stuff starts to autocorrect. And I think that's very telling of what women especially are missing in today's society, is they're missing that real masculine polarity in their partners.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that dynamic element that you've kind of raised is so critical to that. So with like talking back about the bedroom, so obviously everyone's going to have different thresholds, everyone's going to have different wants and slightly different needs when it comes to what they want in the bedroom. And obviously as a leader, you're not asking her what she wants because that's not what a leader would do. So are you allowing her body or her non-verbal cues to give you an indication of what's working and what's not? Like how does a guy pick up on, because like obviously there's so many variations of dominance. Like some people, it's like full on like chain me up and throw stuff at me. No, I don't know. But like other people might just want you to, I don't know, throw them on the bed and like just take charge in another way. So I'm wondering like, yeah, how does a man like identify like what their woman wants without asking her?
Very good question. Yeah, so it does. A lot of it does come down to body language, right? It comes down to understanding what you as a man are actually comfortable in doing too. That's actually very important, because unless I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, my partner can't be comfortable. If me as a man, if I'm trying, let's say I'm trying to do something in the bedroom that I've like never done before. Maybe as an example, maybe I'm trying to, maybe we're playing around with the ropes and I'm like trying to tie her up or something, right? If I'm nervous and timid and unconfident in myself whilst doing something as simple as that, well, she sure as hell is going to be nervous and uncomfortable in having me do it to her, right? So the guy has to, not only does he have to lead in terms of what he's actually doing, he has to lead kind of emotionally too. So he has to be confident in whatever he's executing, whatever he's trying to do. So that's the first point. So that's actually where his starting point should be, is like, he shouldn't be sort of trying to take her to a place that he's not even comfortable to go himself. And the second thing I'll say is reading the body language, right? I mean, you touched on this briefly. You have to be able to, it's kind of sucks, but you kind of have to be a bit of a mind reader as a guy. And some of this comes down to, obviously experience helps. This is why I say sex is a skill like anything else. But if you've had a partner for a long enough period of time, you should be able to recognize like her non-verbal, like green lights and red lights, right? Things that she enjoys, things she doesn't enjoy. But let's say hypothetically, for example, I'm with a new partner and I don't know if she enjoys being erotically choked, right? So a lot of women quite enjoy that, especially if you do it correctly. And there is a correct technique and an incorrect technique for choking somebody. We don't want to crush the windpipe. We stay away from the windpipe. We apply pressure on the sides of the neck, right? It's actually about blood flow and not about like air restriction. Anyway, okay, how do I baby step with a new partner, or maybe with a partner I've had for a while, to know whether or not she would enjoy that? Well, what you have to do is think about the end result and think about how you can break that end result, like the end, let's say, like erotically choking somebody, the end action. How can I break that down into kind of incremental baby steps that would allow me to test for her body language? And so, for example, in this example, let's say I just simply place my hand here at the top of her collarbone. That's it. I'm just placing, obviously this is during sex, while we're making out, or during missionary position or something like this. Just by placing my hand here and then gauging her body language from that one step. Did she tense up? Did she relax? Did she get a smile on her face? Did her brow, her forehead like furrow? Like, what's the response here? And then we can maybe step it up a little bit closer and we move it to the base of her neck. Again, we're not squeezing, we're not applying any pressure, we're not doing anything there. We're just placing the hand there, and again, I'm gauging her body language again. I'm seeing how is she responding? Is she relaxing, or is she tensing up? That's really the main one. Because the first thing we never want to do, we never want to push a woman's boundaries. We never want to go beyond where she wants to go. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you want to be able to take her to fun, new, adventurous experiences, right? So that does mean that you have to like push the water somewhere. You have to explore somewhere, but you have to explore within her boundaries, within what she's comfortable with. And I fundamentally think it's far sexier for a man to be able to do that in a non-verbal way, then instead of sitting his partner down and going through like a consent checklist.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing sexy about that, because that takes away all the mystery, takes away all the intrigue, takes away all the sexual tension. Instantly gone if I've sat down and gone through a checklist. So instead, okay, back to the example of erotically choking somebody. Cool. We put the hand at the base of the neck. We've seen that there's been no sexual tension. Cool. Now we can gently apply pressure on the sides of the neck, and again, gauge her response. Is she smiling? Are her eyes rolling in the back of her head? Do we hear a sensual moan from her? Okay, these are typically green flags. These are green lights. Cool. When we start to see this positive affirmation, okay, we know we can kind of pursue this dynamic. We can pursue this particular sex act, and she's enjoying it. Right? But again, if we get the complete opposite reaction, cool. We don't do this anymore, and we take 2 steps back and we go in a completely different direction. We do something totally different, right? You don't have to stop and say, like, and apologize and go and take away all the sexual tension immediately. You just have to recognize, okay, my partner's not comfortable with that. Cool, we don't do that again. We go somewhere else. So this is just one practical example, right, of how a guy can kind of baby step his way through an experience with a woman that he's seeing if she's even receptive to, but he has to baby step it in a way that is comfortable with her own boundaries and her own physical boundaries. Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of like, it's like mind reading, but you're not really mind reading. You're learning how to read her body language correctly and respond accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a great little tool for people to use.